Welcome to the Kawartha Small Business Podcast, where we believe the Kawarthas can be the most thriving region in Canada for small business. I am Brian Rump from Profit Coach.
And I'm Matt Garrity of Managing Digital.
All right, Matt, we are talking today about why you need a path to profit. Because I think a lot of businesses are frankly doomed from the start. And profit is not easy, so you need a clear path to profit in any venture that you're going to do. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Kawartha Small Business Podcast, bringing bright conversations and hopeful optimism to businesses since 2020.
Yep, that's how we roll. It's lovely to hear, hey, you're doomed from the start. But
I can just imagine you as the profit coach talking to like a new opportunity and just starting the conversation. Hey, I'm Brian of Profit Coach. Your business is doomed.
Yeah, your business is terrible. You're doomed from the start. And it's funny to laugh at it, but you know, one of the things you need to do is just some basic napkin math sometimes of like, what is the scale of the business that I'm starting? How much am I charging? And is there a path to being profitable? And by profitable, I mean more like economic profit, where it's not just, hey, my income is more than my expenses, but it pays you sufficiently as a small business owner for what you do, and you also have a bit of extra as a reward for owning a business. So that's really what you have to look at, and that number is going to be different for everybody, because some people set up and like, hey, I want to make X amount, and I'm cool with that, and that's good, but that needs to be more than barely over my expenses.
Yeah, we've talked about this on this podcast for sure. And then you and I have talked about this pretty extensively in the last couple of years as you've kind of helped and guided me with a lot of things. And you've always put in perspective to me that profit isn't just the amount of money that you need to run the business and pay yourself. I always thought that's kind of what profit was. But you were the one that first started painting that picture to me, where profit is actually forget the cost of goods and services, include your salary, because we've talked ad nauseum about that. But you need that reward afterwards for running your actual business.
Yeah, and you need profits for growth. So if you want to grow, you need to have cash to reinvest in your business, and you need to balance that out. Some people see profit as like an event. It's like, well, one day I'll be profitable, or I'll make this big, chunk of profit. And I think it's easy to get stuck in that trap of, well, just, I grow a little bit more, or staff, I need one more staff member and then I'll finally be profitable. But you need to do it from the start. And if you have big growth plans, you need cash to fuel that growth. You and I have had conversations with entrepreneurs who have, um, you know, 8 figures in mind for their business. And it's like, if you want an 8 figure business from sales, like to go from zero to that, like you need a lot of profit to invest in the things you're going to need to get there.
Do you think that to make 8 figures in sales, they need profit and they don't need videos?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, they might need some good videos, um, but they're probably not going to get it with terrible marketing. That's for sure.
That's
Um,
the thing, like
and
you and I always laugh on this podcast and elsewhere that we people that have these dreams of 8 figures and then they're like they don't want to spend any money on marketing, or like frankly they're nickel and diming on marketing, or they're insistent on video marketing. Nothing else,
yeah,
just videos is the thing to
just
do.
some videos. Yeah, first we get the videos, and then we just sit back, and the cash starts rolling in.
Yeah.
Um, Funny, quick quick side note, I heard we're big fans of StoryBrand. I'm a certified StoryBrand guide. I heard them talking about that company was started with a PDF and a website for, you know, a couple days work. Basically, they started it, and then they have a video series, short video series of the 5 minute marketing makeover, which are like nice videos. They're basic, but they talked later how that cost them $20,000 for like 3 5 minute videos, and that was a big leap for them. But having those high quality videos allowed them to get the attention of high paying customers. So they were able to, charge a lot. So had they not taken that leap, they still would have, and they still get people downloading their PDF. They still get customers from that. But, they had to level up, their video game to be able to get that much money. So that would have been an intentional part of their growth, was knowing when to take that leap and knowing they had sort of the other stuff in place to take advantage of that.
Yeah, and those later videos, like the Business Made Simple videos, there's 60 of those. I bet
Yeah.
you those videos, like 50 or 60 grand at least.
Oh yeah.
You know more?
Yeah, all I know is they're filmed in what's now Don's house. Like, he built a house, and part of it was intentionally building a studio. And when you
Yeah.
see him give tours, you see like cables everywhere, and they have cameras everywhere. And I've seen him he does like streamed workshops from there. There's like cameras from above for when he writes things down. Like, it would have cost a lot to set that up. And then they would have, he has a crew who does them. Like, that's not inexpensive.
No, and if you watch them, most people I think are probably going to think they're extremely simple because, like you said, it's clearly in his house in front of his bookshelf. It's just the owner, quote, talking. But there's a lot of script there, there's a lot of editing. These videos are crystal clear, they're beautiful sounding, they look beautiful. They're not your video on your phone or whatever. This is like 50 or 60 grand. They're incredibly effective. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's a good example because, on our path to profit, one of those things is sort of getting the realistic idea of what elements cost in terms of investments to grow and get to the area where you need to be profitable and get that sufficient scale. Um, and it's hard to do as a brand new business starting out from zero, because you still have to feed yourself. There's demands for money everywhere. So at first you have to, at least find out if your business model has a chance right from the start.
yeah. I was going to ask you, like, where do you think the path to profit starts then? Like, what's the first thing you should do?
That's a good question, because I love having these like chicken and egg conversations of like, where is the start? And I look to some theories in innovation, and like innovation starts with empathy, and I think any business starts with empathy in terms of what is the problem you are solving and how you're making people's lives better. And I think if you get that wrong, you can be completely like failing from the start. And I've seen it, people will put huge amounts of money into starting a business that doesn't really solve a problem people have or are willing to pay money for.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and that's not an easy thing. It's an easy thing to sort of talk about, but it's hard to, put your finger on it sometimes.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking about how I started Matty G Digital and thinking at the time about what do I like to do? What's my passion? What can I monetize that I'm somewhat good at personally or professionally? And I remember at the time being thankful that what I'm capable of doing, I can make a good living off of it. I can make a lot of money off of it. Like I'm
Yeah.
a marketer. I'm able to put together marketing strategies. Like there's good money there. I was like, well, I'm like, it's a good thing I don't sell like banana splits or something where I'm like, I'm really going to have to hustle to make like any sort of money or make ends meet. It kind of just made me think about what you were saying with businesses in some cases being doomed from the start, where if the problem that you're trying to solve isn't something that A exists, or B, if you can solve it, and honestly, it's not a lot of money, you really, in my mind, I'd be questioning, is this worth my while?
Yeah. Yeah. So it has to be worth it. It has to be profitable. So in innovation, there's lots of neat graphics, and one's like a little Venn diagram. And any new idea or venture has to be viable. So you have to be able to do it, desirable, and profitable. There's lots of great ideas that die on the vine because they're just not profitable, or
Mm,
you can't produce it and solve the problem for what people are willing to pay for it. Uh,
right.
One of my favorite examples, when I worked for the bank, we used to have a joke about changing the world with soup. And we would get, banks notoriously do not like funding restaurants. They're difficult to get loans for, but we would always have inquiries come in from people who are going to open a restaurant or cafe. They're going to have the greatest soup in the world, and that was going to make their fortune. But you look at, soup, it can be an amazing soup. What are you charging? Like it was like say $3 a bowl. Now it's maybe 5. I think I've paid $8 for a bowl of soup. But even at $8, like by the time you rent a space, get all your equipment, pay staff, like that's a lot of bowls of soup that you have to, move through your restaurant. So it might be great, but it just might not. There might not be a path to profit on
Why
that.
does the bank not want to fund restaurants?
High turnover, high failure rate. They're a cash business, so people use them for fraud a lot.
Mm.
It's like if you look at the bank account of a lot of restaurants, they don't have enough in there to pay their rent or loans. Because if someone pays their check with cash, they can slip some of it in their pocket, slip some into the bank account. I think that's changing now with more and more people paying with like debit and credit. There's more of a paper trail. um, but they're just very expensive to operate. Like you gotta,
Yeah.
we were talking offline about downtown Lindsay. It'd be awesome to have some more like nice patio restaurants, but you know you gotta rent a spot. You gotta put in a commercial kitchen, fire code, like probably a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
High end leasehold improvements like nice furniture and cutlery. You're a lot of money into it before you even start. Then you have food that goes bad. You have staff that you know you have to pay whether a customer comes in or not. So you need marketing to keep the place full. They're just very very risky, and we see it all the time with just turnover in restaurants. They open and close, and it's tough. So the banks just kind of stay away.
Yeah, and I can imagine it's such a saturated market and it's challenging for the restaurants to present solutions to problems on that because yes, everyone is hungry, everyone needs to eat, but I think it would be very challenging for them to say, "I tangibly create a better widget." You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it's just lots of competition, which is sort of like with a path to profit and talking about profit. There's no easy money, and in economics we talk about there's no economic profit in the long run when you have competition. So if you open up a business and you're doing great and sort of pulling in the money hand over fist, guess what? A competitor is going to pop up right next to you and eat some of that market. And and that's part of the cycle that's just always happening. So you have to plan for it a little bit, and keep getting better, keep reinvesting in your business. People who have been successful over the long term are usually very disciplined in how they manage their finances, how they do their marketing, so that they can consistently be profitable.
And you keep saying invest back into the business. What are you investing in? If it were you.
Oh, that's a good question. That could be replacing your infrastructure or equipment that you
Mm.
might have. It could be, paying down debt and just having cash available for new opportunities. It could be intentional innovation. So, really trying to guess what you need to change about your product mix, your customers, finding new customers. A lot of that could be marketing and products. It's so easy to get left behind by certain trends sometimes. So if you're running on a sort of a very sort of thin edge and you don't have any cash, like all of a sudden you could just find yourself having to close because you can't buy what you need to adapt to the business. And that's different for everyone. Restaurants again usually have to redecorate every few years.
Mm.
So you need to have cash available to be able to do that. Or a new fad comes along and you need a different piece of equipment to be able to cook that thing. You need to have that cash to be able to do that. There's also things like just training your staff, developing your staff. And that also goes back to another thing you need on your path, really is your a core strategy of
Mm.
like how you compete. Are you competing on typically cost or differentiation? Either way, if you're competing on cost, you have to invest in things like systems and processes and training so that everything's repeatable and kind of anyone can do it. And if it's differentiation, you need a higher skilled level of employee. So you have to invest in your employees to keep them sort of happy and growing as well. And all of those things take profit.
Yeah. I'm going to go way huge curveball here in this
All
conversation,
right.
and I am sorry. But do you know of any businesses that will literally create and set up a path to training for people?
That's a good question. I know that they exist. I'm not sure I know anyone who does it for like a smaller business, just
Mm.
because it's a pretty big cost to create a whole training plan for someone. There would be consultants who definitely do that for big corporations. I know when I worked for the bank, there would be sort of consultants would, create this new training program for X initiative, and they would create like systems and processes
It's so
for
challenging.
that.
Yeah, it's so challenging to train people because it's an extra cost or it's such a suck of resources, time or money or mostly just time, right? But I wonder how much like how better off a lot of businesses would be, mine included, if I could better train people right out of the gate.
Oh, huge! I think it's definitely worth it. I did a project for a business a few years ago, where I set up like an online learning platform
Mm.
for them and just had some basic training stuff that was there and available. And I think that helped that business just with some of the basic stuff that someone new comes in and it's like, okay, what do you
Yeah.
teach them? And that stuff's fairly um, easy to do. again, depending on your business, like you just really need the time to do it. And
Yeah.
uh, that's actually how I ended up getting into teaching at Fleming. Was a previous job I was at. We were looking at developing a training program, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't just making something up. I wanted to like sort of learn how to teach a little bit. So I consulted some of my old professors, and then you know, yada yada yada. A few months later, a job opening comes up, and I'm teaching at the School of Business. But it is um, I think a big thing for so many businesses is to get some sort of training program in place, because that's how the big businesses compete. You know, you go work at McDonald's, they know exactly what you're doing probably every hour of your training program to get people up to speed, and that keeps wages low as well because they could take pretty much anyone and apply them to the training program, and then they're good to go.
Yeah, and it would fill so many holes in your own processes and like logistics, infrastructure, all those things to sit down with a who or someone to go ahead and help you with that training to be able to understand like, okay, there's gaps in what I'm doing also to help you improve your business. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what's neat about it is there's specific job training, skills training, there's overall professional development. Um, you can, I know I have a few pitches out to work as a profit coach with people's sort of key staff members, like help develop them to like learn how to do more, learn how to read financials and,
yeah.
make decisions from that. And that's not necessarily a pure training blueprint, but that helps, retain staff you have, expand their skills. There's lots of opportunity there. This just reminds me again, funny story. I in an interview once, I was up for a big promotion that I was not near qualified for, and I asked about what the training program was, and the interviewing executives were um, what they call it, the three-word training program, sink or swim.
Yikes.
And that was one of Canada's largest, most profitable corporations.
It's a
Yeah,
thing
I
though.
think
Like you hear it from everyone. Every business owner is so busy because they can't find good people to do the work. And
everyone said so. That again is again right back to our path to profit. If you need to scale and you need helpers, like part of your core business intellectual property is training and doing that. There's a Mike Michalowicz quote. I think he was maybe quoting someone else, but it's easier to dig a well than hire a rainmaker. So you know, lots of people expect like, hey, I need someone who can just come in, do all this work for me, and hopefully they'll work for part-time minimum wage. Like
yeah, it's
that's not
nonsense.
not possible. Like you have to train and develop your own people. You need the right attitudes and, overall skills, but that's part of your business. And again, your path to profit. Like if you have something that you can teach someone to help scale, then that's how you're going to grow your business. So you need to know that.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here thinking about something I've thought about for years, and it's just reinforcing it in this conversation. Like the worst thing you can do for your business is your differentiator being you and you alone. Because if you get hit by a car, you're toast. Where's that business going to go if every great idea, your processes, how you implement things is all in your head? And you can be a disruptor in your business. I'm using buzzwords now. I don't like it, but I'm trying to like paint a picture out and articulate myself. But like you can be a disruptor in your business and you can bring a lot to your business as this value driven professional, but you are not the reason why your business exists. It can't be. It's not going to grow and scale.
Oh, and I think that's a great point in terms of what I call a real business that
Mhm.
has value and its own entity, and that's a really hard thing to do. Especially a lot of small businesses start out as, you know, person with truck, person with skill, and then you go through that process of professionalizing and growing that. And I see this as my own self. I technically own a small business, but really I'm a professional who does stuff for people. Like without me, there's nothing there, and that's okay. And that's a strategic leap of, okay, if I want it to grow and expand, this is where I have to do. Okay, what's that path to profit look like?
Yeah.
How many people do I need? Because I can tell you right now, I need a lot more invested in marketing, need a lot more invested in uh, some who's to help out, some technology, So then I start doing the math, and it's like, okay, do I have the energy and marketing to support this level of sales to do it at this point? And that's the tough strategic decisions where you have to know, do you want to own like a bigger business, or how big do you want that business to be? Um, and again, no right answer. I've met entrepreneur recently who could triple the size of their business overnight if they wanted to, but they don't want to do that. They like the size they're at. It gives them the balance they want. They can pick and choose the work that they want. But if they really wanted to grow, they could. So they're just on a different path.
Yeah. Everyone wants to gross $1 million in their business, but I don't know if everyone wants to put in the work that's required to gross $1 million.
Yeah, and then there's some people who get so obsessive over that $1 million that they get there, and it's like all they make is 20 grand off of that, and it's like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Um, Whereas the path to profit could just be, okay, let's just keep it, a small business with a few people. Um, and I mean, that's really cool when I met people who could figure that out, where it's like them, an assistant, maybe a few others, and that's, they make millions of dollars
Yeah.
a year. Like that's a great spot to be in. Awesome. We've covered lots of things here. Um, I think the only one we really missed labeling and talking about is just some financial systems, and making sure on that path to profit you take that napkin math and have some systems to monitor what you're making along the way, how you're balancing that investing, so that you're not just doing a lot of fun, cool stuff, and at the end of the day, have nothing to show for it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. What kind of tools would you, again, suggest people start with?
Well, a profit coach for sure. I think there's some systems you can follow. Profit First is a really good one, in terms of just a mindset of how you manage your money. Make sure you have a bookkeeping sort of basics set up. I think you need a system to get money. So
Mhm.
again, we've talked about story brand a bit. We didn't go that deep in this one, but having quality messaging and marketing that really targets the sort of profit engines of your business is important as well. Sometimes people are marketing the complete wrong thing, and it's not feeding their business the cash that they need, or their marketing is just not set up to actually bring in money for them. So you need to have that in place as well. So there are those systems available that, when we say systems, that sometimes that word can be looking for big, fancy, hard things,
Right.
but they can be relatively simple and essential. Systems to manage and monitor what you're doing, so that at the end of the day, you're making money.
Yeah. Like get HubSpot for free and track the leads and opportunities that you have. and track how much money that you might be able to forecast coming your way. Get Wave Financial for free online, track your invoices, and have a system in place there to make sure you get paid, like you said. Not everything needs to
Oh
be
yeah.
thousands of dollars every month, especially when you're getting started. You can always hack it together. Just have something.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I think too, like, yeah, free stuff. You talked about Donald Miller's videos, like, Business Made Simple. It's a series of 60 videos. If you just apply that stuff, you're golden. Like, there's a lot of good stuff there. Books, you can get stuff at the library. There's stuff that's easily accessible for you, or you can, reach out to us, and we can help you make sure you're on that path to profit. Put those things together. All right. Any final thoughts?
No, but very quick shout out. I want to keep doing this. I'm not going to keep throwing this at you. We didn't talk about this ahead of time, but I was stopped again recently by someone that's like, "Hey, I've been listening to the podcast. I love it." Her name's Mindy from Wilson Fresh Blueberries. I was up there on the weekend for the Kawartha Lakes Farm Fest. Really cool farm, and blueberry farm specifically, just a little bit south of Bobcaygeon off of Pigeon Lake Road. Friend of the show. Check her out if you get a chance. Wilson.
Awesome. I
Fresh
love
Blueberries.
friends of the show. I
Yeah.
love blueberries. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you. Again, if you're listening to this and you want to work with us, check us out at kawarthasmallbusinesspodcast.ca. See how we can help you start, grow, or recharge your business, or send us an email at setitup@kawarthasmallbusinesspodcast.ca.